Okay, guys, today we're going to be doing media programming again. So we're now back to like doing media programming for real now. So we'll be doing audio recording, audio playback and recording today, which is really cool. And then, the rest of the week we'll be doing video and other stuff. So that'll be, I think this week is going to be really cool. And now that you guys know how to use Firebase, which was, I think, kind of the issue with us doing this last week, you'll be able to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable with the afternoon project. So let's kind of just get started here. I need to grab right, okay. Well, let me just pull the simulator. Whoa, sorry. I was messing with accessibility yesterday. There we go, okay. So this is the app. All it's going to do is have two buttons where when you record and then you can play that recording. So, hello, this is a test. Okay, well, it played. It was just really quiet. I think my microphone's kind of being weird lately. Can you guys actually hear me okay? Yeah?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be doing. UI-wise, obviously, it's not very intensive, but the recording part of it and the playback it's not intensive, but it's going to take a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. So very, very first, what I want you guys to do is find like an MP3 file on your computer, and if you don't have one, I can Slack you one. I just pulled something out of my iTunes library that I'm going to use, and to begin with, what we're going to do is just play that back. So we're going to do the recording kind of in the second half. So to begin with, we're just going to load an MP3 file from a URL and play it in the app. So just take like 2 or 3 minutes or so and find an MP3, and if you want, I can Slack you an MP3 file.
Can you select the MP3 file? Well, everything I have is on Spotify, and here I don't have anything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you don't mind.
Nope, no worries. Does anyone else need an MP3 file?
Yeah, if you select me one,
okay,
that'd be awesome.
Anyone else? We good? Okay, cool. So let's make a new Xcode project here. I'm just going to call this simple audio recorder. And just very first thing, I'm going to just drag my MP3 file into the project so we can access it. And we'll want to do copy items if needed. That'll just prevent it from, it'll copy it and it won't reference the MP3 file, which in my case is on my desktop. So if I were to ever move that file, it would essentially break the project until you re-added the MP3 file. So let's first of all, actually, we were going to talk about this a little bit on, yesterday with dependency injection. about loading things from a file or loading a file itself. So let's just go ahead and go to the view controller. And what we're going to need to do is load get basically data well, not really data. We're going to need to get the URL for this MP3 file in our app. So to begin with, let's look at AV Audio Player in documentation. So everything that we're going to do, both with audio today and video tomorrow, runs through AV Foundation, and then there's also AV Kit, which is more the UI side of AV audio video things. AV Foundation is the thing that's going to give you like the ability to play audio, play video, record video, etc. So an AV audio player, like it sounds, is just it provides playback of audio data from a file or from memory. So to begin with, let's look at the initializer. And this is what I'm talking about. So we're going to use this initializer where it just takes in a URL of some sound file, and then it's going to essentially load that up. And then you're able to do things like it says here in configuring and controlling playback. You'll be, sorry, there we go. You'll be able to, play the sound at a specific time, pause, stop. Well, we'll talk about prepare to play in a second. Change the volume, and a couple other things that are a little bit more advanced that I haven't personally used before. So basically, anything you can do when you're listening to music in the music app or Spotify or, whatever you can do using AV Audio Player, just programmatically. Any questions on this?
Does it support all the formats, MP3, WAV file?
Yes, pretty much. As far as I know, it pretty much will support anything. And that actually brings up a good point, which I am not personally probably qualified to talk about, but I know we have a resident expert on audio, which is Joseph, and I don't know, maybe you guys too. There are a ton of different kinds of formats, not just like MP3 and all that, but within MP3 files, there are different things like bit rates and everything, and both when you're playing them back, it will support that, and also you're able to change those bit rates and everything when you are recording, which can be really cool as well. So yes, it will handle all of that complicated stuff, and I think, don't hold me to this, but I think as of recently, it can now play like uncompressed formats like FLAC, as far as I know. Joseph, do you know off the top of your head?
Well, I know it can play Apple lossless audio codec. It's been able to do that for a long time.
Right.
That's Apple's version of lossless. But I'll have to check and see if it plays FLAC, because I do have that Vox app on my phone, and that one can play FLAC.
Maybe that's what I was thinking, was just AAC. I'm not sure. But anyway, yes, it supports many different formats, not just like MP3. Any other questions?
Does this framework also works with the streaming of audio, like from or is it something else?
So, I don't know. Well, it may be more like you run it through like, so there's a URL session stream task. That would be like you're able to, get the stream from a URL somewhere, and it would probably write it to disk, and as it's writing, you're probably able to read it. I've never gone into that before. I've never tried it. Andrew would know for sure, because he, before he was actually teaching iOS development, he worked at a company that made DJ software, and so he's very, very familiar with all audio related things, and he would definitely know that, and I can check that for you if you want. So yes, sorry, I don't have a good answer for you. Okay, let's go ahead and implement this. So along with this, oops. There is a delegate that we're going to use with the AV audio player, and it's going to give us some good information about events that happen when with the player. So obviously, when the audio player finishes playing, that's something we'll need to know, whether there's errors, and I think that's the only one we use, yeah. So, you can say things like, when it's done playing, do you want to play another song? Do you want to just stop playing or whatever? It's kind of up to you. All right, so let's go ahead and implement this. Let's first of all go and add, well, we'll just add both buttons here right now. So I'm just going to add 2 buttons. Oops. Just have one say play and one say record. Let's see, I'll put that in a stack view. And then I'll just make the stack view, whoops, centered horizontally and vertically. That will be fantastic for our purposes. So I'm just going to make outlets for both of these buttons for now. And actually, we'll do actions as well. I'm just going to call it play and record for the actions. That way we don't have to go back into the storyboard later when we get to recording. All right. So what we're going to need is a recorder, or sorry, rather a player. So let's make one just as a property on our view controller here. Just call it player. Not that it really matters in this project, but let's make it private. It's going to be, oh, sorry, we're going to need to import AV Foundation. Then we'll have an AV audio player. We'll just have that be optional.
Is there a difference between, I'm sure there is a difference, but the difference between AV Kit and AV Foundation?
Yeah, so here, let me pull it up. I kind of tried to explain that. AV Foundation is kind of the underlying like functionality behind, anything related to audio or video recording, playback, all that. AV Kit, like it says here, it's like view level things for the playback. So it's like UI related things with audio and video. So in a real app, if you wanted, like, you could use custom controls through that, and you would kind of use them in tandem with each other. So you don't have to do that. However, like we're doing here, we're just having UI buttons kind of be the UI for the recording and playback, and that's fine too. So you can, kind of choose that. Okay, so let's do this. Go into the play, first of all. And we need a way to get this, basically the URL that references our file, our MP3 file. Have we gone over using the documents directory before? Or sorry, not the documents directory, the, well, like using the bundle and file manager? Yes, no, kind of. Okay, I'm kind of going to take that as a no. So all of the files in your app kind of get bundled up into what is called a bundle. And to be able to access an actual file in your code, we're going to go to the bundle, and this has a shared instance called main. And then we can say URL for resource. And we'll just do this one with extension here. So the resource is the name of the file, and then the extension is obviously the file extension. So we can just say, for me, it's going to be stop me now. And this is an MP3. So then I'm just going to say, like, let song URL equal that. Oops. And it's going to give you an optional URL back. So this resource could not exist, so it could return nil. I'm just going to force unwrap it, because if that's not there, then we can't really play it, and something would be pretty wrong for it to not be there in this case. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit of a helper here that's going to be nice. We're going to need to access this player in multiple places, which is why we have it on the view controller. Also, oh, I don't think I talked about this. Let me go back to the audio player. There we go. Another key thing that you'll use quite a bit is this is playing. Obviously, it's just going to say whether the sound file is actually playing or it's stopped or whatever. We end up using this in quite a few places, and so what we're going to do is just make a is playing computer property here. That's just a bool. And the reason we're doing this is because the player could not exist, and I'll kind of go over why. Like, at this point, we don't even have a player. We're going to initialize the player almost very last in this play method. But we'll want to see in multiple places whether there is, sound playing at all. And there could or could not be audio. So what we're going to do is we're just going to return the players is playing, but there could not be a player at all. And so to kind of avoid having to unwrap this Boolean value over and over again, we're just going to use this helper computer property here and just use the nil coalescing to say, return the players is playing property, or if it's nil, we'll just say that it's false because the player doesn't exist at all, so nothing would be playing. This kind of just makes our code a little bit cleaner, and we're not unwrapping like the same Boolean value over and over again. So this play button is going to kind of perform really two tasks. It's going to play, and it's also going to stop the playback. So what we're going to do is we're going to check whether there is audio playing. And then, based on that, we're either going to play the recording if there's nothing playing, or we're going to stop the recording, or rather the song in this case, if there is something playing. So what we need to say is we'll just go guard, make sure that it isn't playing. Oops. Else we will call player.stop, and then we'll just return from the function so it doesn't try to set up another song or set up the song again. Oh, you know what? Let me jump back. Sorry, I keep going back to the documentation, but so a key thing about the initializer for this AV audio player is it's also a throwing initializer, so it can throw some errors. So we need to run this initializer in a do try catch block. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. So we'll say our player that we've set up here equals an AV audio player with the contents of our song URL. Whoops, sorry, try that. We need to catch the errors, so we'll just say unable to start playing audio. And the last things we need to do are, well, first of all, we need to start the player playing, just because we now have a player in theory. If this all worked fine and it didn't throw any errors, it doesn't automatically start playing, which is, I guess, probably a good thing. So now we just need to say our player dot play, and that will actually begin the playback. And another thing is we need to probably, well, it would work like this, but we need to have it implement the delegate, the AV audio player delegate. Otherwise, I believe if it gets to the end of the song, I think by default it will just play the song again. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure if Joseph knows or not. Anyway, it's just, going to be a good thing to always be able to know when, at the very least, when it finishes playing. So we'll set ourselves up as the delegate, or we'll set this view controller up. And then we'll just conform to the AV audio player delegate. Maybe I'll just put this right above the play is that method. It's just audio player did finish playing. So what we're going to do is just call we'll just call self.player is nil for now. Let me note here. Okay, sorry. I'll come back to that after we get this working the first time, and I'll kind of talk about a potential problem that you can run into with this. So at this point, this is pretty bare bones. Like, we're not changing the UI or anything to, say like stop or anything. But let's see if this works at the very least. So once you've got that, go ahead and run the project, and we should be able to, at this point, play the audio.
Tonight, I'm gonna have myself.
There we go. Pretty cool, right? I mean, that's not a ton of code to like
Don't
make
stop
it
me
work.
now. Don't stop me now. Don't
Yeah,
stop dancing
but
now.
then I stopped it. I'm sorry, guys. We can jam out later if you want. Have like a dance party across state lines and everything. So go ahead and test that. Let me know when yours is working or if you have problems, and then we can kind of address that before we move on.
Can you move your
Yes, sorry. Oh yeah, that's sorry. Thanks for mentioning that, Jason. Yeah, make sure if you're running this on a real phone that you flip you unsilence your phone. Okay, Yvette, is yours working?
Yes, working.
Perfect. Jared?
I'm having an issue with the delegate, but I think I know what it is.
Do you want me to try to look at it, or?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let me show. Can y'all see this? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so at the top of your view controller, you'll need to conform to the UI, or sorry, UI, AV audio player delegate.
Oh, down here. Okay, yeah. Cool.
And then that is just spelled slightly wrong on audio on line 21. Need to flip the D in the I. Yep, perfect. And
That's it.
although I don't think if you scroll down a little bit, you're calling player.play twice. Just call that once, and then you should be good. Not that I think that'll make a difference, but it might.
I got an error. It might just because of my format of my song. It plays down here.
It should be okay. I think M4A is just fine.
Okay.
What does why don't you put an exception breakpoint in and let's see where it's crashing.
Okay. So where should I put it? At here?
So go to the breakpoints tab in the left pane. It's like that little breakpoint looking thing to the right. Yeah, there you go. At the very bottom, hit the plus button and say exception breakpoint. And then on exception, where it says all, change that to Objective C. And then go ahead and hit play again. Let's see if, well, it might not even be an exception, but we can try that. So just go ahead and run the project again now.
Okay.
Hit the play through button. The one to the left. There you go. Oh yeah, okay. So something is wrong. Well, I tried to unwrap that that file. So did you maybe spell the audio file wrong?
Nah, it's right here. This is energy. I think that's it right there.
Oh, weird.
But I can add another file. It might just be, I think it might just be this format or something. That's what I think it is. So I'll grab the file that you have and then I'll change it.
Okay. Was it working and then you hit the play button and then it crashed?
Oh, you can't even see it.
No. That's why I'm a little bit confused.
Oh, let me stop it because I think I'm showing the wrong. Yeah, so it actually, sorry about that.
So it like runs until you hit the play button though.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh, did you check copy items if needed?
I did.
Weird.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have an M4A file? Let's see if I have one.
I can just copy yours.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry about that. That's really weird.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would be so picky with file formats, as far as I know. But Sean and Jason, are yours by chance M4A files, or are they like MP3s? Just curious now. Okay. All right, guys. So let's. Well, yeah.
Got it to work.
Oh, you got it? Oh, okay. Weird. Oh, Sean, thanks for sharing your song. Okay, yeah, they're all MP3. Huh. I've used other I think. Oh, I don't know. All right.
The problem was I didn't add the target. That was a problem.
Oh, yep, that would do it. Okay, cool. That's good. All right. So give me a 1 to 3 on how you feel with what we've done so far. If I told you, if you were going to implement this in an app of your own, could you do it? Just the playback part. Sean? I'll pick that as a 3. Let's go ahead and move on to the recording part. Oh, you know what? Actually, what we need to do is we need to update the way the button looks like when it's playing. It'll say stop and vice versa. So let's just real quick go ahead and make a function to do that. I'll just put that down at the bottom here. I'll just call it update buttons. And really all we're doing is swapping the title based on, whether this is playing is true or false here. So I'm just going to say like let play button title equal, and personally I like to use the ternary operator where possible in something simple like this. So I'm going to say if it's playing, we're going to have the title be stop playing. Or we'll just have it be play like it normally is. We can set the play button, play button dot set title to the play button title. For the control state, we'll just do normal. Okay, so where do we need to call the update buttons method? And it may be in multiple places.
At the beginning of play, and then in the play did stop.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So we're going to need to call it here at the end of our play method. And then audio player did finish playing. Update buttons. And just as an aside, because we're doing stop, this works fine. If instead we were going to do like play and pause instead of play and stop, I don't believe audio player did finish playing will get called for pauses. Actually, I'm not sure. Let's look at it. Yeah, okay, so it's not called on audio interruption. That's what I thought. This will only work if you're using stop. If you're using pause right here, then you would probably just call like update buttons here as well, and then it would stop it, and then you would be able to change the title back to play. Does that make sense what I was trying to say? Okay. So let's look at this now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would I need to do anything with plist, like ask permission for a microphone or audio? Or...
For the microphone, yes. To play audio, you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
Why does my app want permission to access the microphone every time?
I don't know.
Yeah, mine too.
Mine as well. I swear it didn't used to do this. I'm not really sure. But this is just on the simulator. It should be fine on your phone. There we go. Now it says stop playing. Stop. Oh. Oh, that's weird. Jason, does it ask you for anything on your phone when you run it? For permissions or anything?
It doesn't, no.
Okay, that's what I thought. Let me try this one more time. That's really weird.
I think it's just because, like, on the simulator, like with AV Foundation or something, there's a way for, like, developers to, like, nefariously get access to the microphone, even if they're just requesting, like, audio access or something. So for the simulator, it's just for security purposes.
Oh, that makes sense.
Don't we have to call update buttons in the play button tapped in the guard else? Guard is playing right when we stop.
Right here?
Yeah, when I call it there, then it works.
That's weird. Yeah, I guess we can. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just figured when it would stop here, it would, like, maybe it doesn't. Well, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. That will definitely make it work for sure.
I think you can go into the simulator and always say microphone assets, or you can do something like the app delegate. Erica showed us how to do it like one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not for microphone, just like for permission.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The finished playing doesn't run until the song is actually done. Is that it?
That I guess is my assumption now. I didn't actually know that. I figured that, like it says here, it's not called on audio interruption, but well, I don't know. I guess that makes sense. It's paused upon interruption, right? So that means that's not going to get, this isn't going to get called when it's paused, but I figured if you call stop, that means the sound is finished playing, but I guess not. So this must only get called when the audio file is completely done running through. So if you wanted, we could actually probably, we're kind of repeating ourselves here with this update buttons. So what we could do instead is probably the better thing to do, save a couple lines of code, is to just have a defer statement up here that calls update buttons regardless. Because any way we go, whether it's playing or not, we are going to need to call that. So we could just kind of do that and it will clean it up just a little bit. You don't have to do that, but it's probably a little bit better.
I have another question. When I actually hit play, it switches to stop playing like right away. But then when I hit stop playing, before it switches to play, it shows just a ... for like a split second. And if you turn on slow animations, or if I do it, I can see it very clearly in the simulator. It goes to ... and then it goes to stop playing.
Oh, yeah. So that has to do with the constraints. So like here, for example, if we, let's make it so the stack view's width is equal to the view. We're going to kind of just like overkill this for a second. But now there's all this space here. It seems like the constraints are resizing and shrinking before the text does, and that's probably what's having that happen. So now, if we do this again, yeah, it should be fine now. That's just a constraint issue.
Okay.
And our constraints definitely weren't the best, but they were just kind of quick and dirty. Okay, so let's. Are you guys good to go, or we're going to kind of switch gears here? So if there are any questions, now would be a good time. Otherwise, I'm kind of tempted to just take like our break now, so that when we come back, we can just do all of the audio recording side kind of in one whole go. Is that cool with everyone?
Right.
Okay. Let's just do that.
Please. I mean.
Okay, there we go. We'll see you guys in 5 minutes. All right, guys, we will continue.
You know that you have to play the song all the way through at the end of this, so that you're not stopping Freddie Mercury anymore.
That's true. I need to. He keeps telling me not to stop, but I keep stopping him, and I feel
Yeah, you gotta give it to him.
I gotta give it to him. Let's see. Nick and Jarek and Sean, are you guys back? Okay, Nick's back. Jarek and Sean, are you back? All right, I guess we'll just get started. So let's go to AV audio recorder in the documentation. So just like we just used AV audio player, the flip side of that is the AV audio recorder. You can do some cool stuff with this. First of all, to begin with, let's look at the initializer. So we're not going to worry too much about the settings themselves. However, we are going to use this. Oops, where'd it go? This one. This initializer that takes in a URL and an AV audio format. So I'll go into the format in a second. But the key thing with AV Foundation, both when we're recording audio or recording video, we don't store them in like core data or, I mean, I guess you could like in Firebase or whatever, but they're all meant to be stored just as a file on your phone's hard drive. So like, you know, in the documents directory or wherever, they should just be saved to a URL. And that's exactly how they're meant to be used. So what's going to happen when we give the AV audio recorder a URL is to say, here's this URL as you're recording, or when you finish recording, save the file to this URL. And then obviously we'll have access to that URL to like play it again and everything. And that's kind of the key here. So a couple things with this, very similar to the way the AV audio player works, is there's record, or there's record at a specific time. I've never actually used this, but you know, you could say like, start recording in 3 seconds into the future, right? So you could have some sort of a countdown if you wanted to, which would be kind of cool. You could have some cool UI with that. Record for a duration. Excuse me. So if you just want to, you know, make it so that your recordings are only 30 seconds or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. You can pause the recording, which is really nice. I don't even, oh, maybe now. I'm not, before even Apple's like voice memo. Yeah, even their voice memo app doesn't do that. It's just a straight recording. So, you know, you could pause the recording and then continue the recording later and not have to like have multiple recordings, which is kind of cool. Or obviously just stop the recording. And then a couple properties that are important is obviously, again, kind of the parallels to the players is playing. There is an is recording that we'll be using. Also the URL attached to the AV audio recorder. So one recorder will only have a single URL at a time, which makes sense. A single recorder can really only be recording one file at once, so there's just a single URL here. And then let's look at the AV audio format. Excuse me. So the AV audio format, this is, again, getting a little bit outside of my knowledge as far as audio goes. I don't have a ton of experience with it. So there is luckily sort of a standard format. You can get like super deep into, you know, like customizing the audio format, and I'm sure, I'm not sure, Joseph, have you ever used AV audio recorder much?
I have a bit. Yeah. Just
Anyway,
really, really simple things in the apps that I've done. But nope.
Excuse me. Wow. Luckily, there is this just standard format where you just give it a sample rate. So what is it in? Is it in megahertz? Is that what it is, Joseph?
For the well, it's kilobits per second.
Oh, kilobits per second.
Yeah, so like the standard, I think on like Apple Music and Spotify is 256, sometimes 320.
Oh no, okay, so it isn't.
Yeah.
So the
in hertz.
is
So that would be like
3,100.
Yeah, 44,000, 48,000 is kind of the standard for lossless, and usually even stuff on Apple Music. So that's like the full spectrum of frequencies for human hearing.
Okay, perfect.
Is what it's going by.
Okay. And then the layout is how many channels you want. So we're going to do 2. You could probably even do 1. It would be fine since we're just using like an iPhone or something. But you could have, you know, multi-channel audio and stuff. And that's really all we're going to do. I've never gone into anything else besides that. It's a little beyond my experience, but this is great for what we want. And even just with this this standard format with sample rate, we're going to be recording lossless audio, which is great. So it'll be still high quality. So let's go ahead and do that. So just like we've made a player, we're going to make a private recorder. And we will also have a private var is recording. Oops. Or false. And the setup for the record method is actually really similar to the play method that we have already done. So let's first of all make sure that it's not already recording. Otherwise, we'll just stop the recording in this case, or you could you know, pause it if you wanted to. We'll just say recorder.stop and return. And then we're going to need to set up a recorder again. And again, the initializer is a, whoops, where is it? Right here. It's a throwing initializer, so we'll also put this in a do-try-catch block. So we're going to need 2 things, which is the URL and the sample, the audio format. So the format we can do right here. We can just say AV audio format. And we use the standard format with sample rate and channels. Oh, sorry, I did channel layout in the documentation. I meant just the channel count. It's kind of the same thing. So we're going to do 44,100 hertz. And then the channel count, we'll just do 2. And then we can say recorder equals AV audio recorder. And we're going to run into a problem, which is we don't have a URL. So now this will lead us into kind of our next topic here, which is, have you guys kind of talked specifically about the documents directory with File Manager?
Yeah, we went over it a long time ago.
Okay, so what is the purpose of the documents directory? This is for anyone.
To save documents.
Mm-hmm. Any documents?
Yes.
Okay. Not really sure how to.
Your audio just went out.
I know. Sorry, I keep having to clear my throat.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I don't think you want to hear that. Is why. So the documents directory is specifically for user-generated documents, user-generated content. So, for example, this wouldn't be used for saving like this song, right? If we wanted to actually like save this song to disk, that wouldn't really go in there. Or, for example, wow. Someone in a previous recording, if you watched the iOS1 recording of this lesson, someone asked, so is that where, when you save music to in Spotify for offline listening, is that where they're saved? And the answer is no. This is only for user-generated, like user-created content. So anything else should not go in the documents directory. Now, that's not to say you couldn't put something in there that wasn't made by the user, but you shouldn't. That's kind of the standard. So what we're going to use is this documents directory to save this, because this is user generated. This is, user recorded content. So we'll go ahead and make that. And what we're going to do is make it so that every time the user essentially records, it will save it to a brand new file. So if you wanted to, it would be kind of a cool thing to add onto this view controller where, you make a table view and you're able to show a list of all the recordings and play them all, you play any of them. Whereas in this simple app, we're just like playing the most recent one. So that would be kind of a cool thing to do. So to do that, let's make another function here. We'll just call it new recording URL. And this is going to return a URL. Oh, wow. Okay, there we go. So we're going to need to access File Manager. So I'm just going to call this File Manager equals File Manager .default. And then we can say let documents directory equal our File Manager .url. And then we're going to use this, well, you could use either of these. I'm just going to use the URL, not URLs, for this search path directory. And if you hit period, this is just an enum here. There are a few different directories that your app has by default, or let's see. Yeah, right here. Oh, no. So the document directory is the one we're going to use. And this should be in the users, in the user domain mask. So this isn't, I think, something that you really need to worry about too much in iOS, but this is more, you would use different domains for, if you're making like a Mac app and you were doing something with essentially Finder, just, using File Manager. Appropriate for nil, and then create is true. So we're just going to say, hey, we want a brand new, we want to be able to make a new URL in the File Manager, in the Documents directory. And what's wrong here? Oh, sorry, this is a throwing method. So we're just going to do try with an exclamation point. If there's not a documents directory, then there's seriously something wrong. That should never, ever happen. I don't actually think we need to put true here because it should exist already, but we'll leave it like that. So then I'm just going to say let new recording URL equal. We're going to call our documents directory. So sorry, I should kind of make a note here. If you didn't watch the video, like Andrew's video on this, as of I think iOS 8 or so, the file manager used to be just sort of this like static, or sorry, not the file manager, the document directory rather. It used to be like a static URL. Just you could like save the URL to somewhere on user defaults, or you could write it down or whatever and access it, and you would be able to access the documents directory. But for security reasons, what they do is, I'm not sure if it's every time you run the app or every so often the URL changes, but somehow there's a unique identifier in the file manager that will change. So you always need to run through File Manager in order to get the documents directory. You can't just have, some URL to it directly. File Manager is going to make sure that you get the documents directory no matter if that URL has changed in, since you last accessed it or whatever. So, okay. So let's call this new recording URL. So I'm just going to say we're going to append onto the documents directory a path component, which is just going to be, in our case, a UUID. But this is where let me, you would add the so we're just adding the UUID here, right? But this is essentially the name of the file now. So if you wanted to have some, if you wanted to call this my recording, then that's where you would put that, if that makes sense. We're just having a UUID because it's easy, but it can be whatever you want. This will also make it, especially in this new recording URL function itself, the whole purpose of this recording URL, this method, is to churn out a brand new, a unique URL every time you call the function. So, if you hard code my recording in here, the recording URL is not going to be unique, and it's just going to be the same every time. So you just be overwriting that recording every time you use this URL. And then we will append a path extension, and we're going to use CAF, which is core audio file or format. You don't have to use CAF, but I just know that works. And then we will return that at the very end. Any questions up to now? You guys feel okay, or do I need to go over anything again?
We didn't finish that top part.
Right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we haven't.
Mhm.
That's what we'll be doing right now.
Okay.
So now we actually have a URL. So every time that we essentially hit the record button to actually record something, not stop, we're going to use the new recording URL here. So that just every time we record, it's going to be in a new place, and we can have essentially multiple recordings, which is why I say it would be cool to add on to this to be able to access all of those recordings and play them back and stuff. Then we can throw the format in here as well, and this is where we're going to need to do try that initializer. And oh, sorry, the format is optional, so let's just force unwrap that again. There's no reason that this format shouldn't initialize with what we've given it. So if it appears, and I didn't know this, it appears you could give it some funky inputs, like your hertz has to be in a specific format or something like that. And why is it yelling now? Okay, we're good. So we'll do the same thing where there's also an AV audio recorder delegate. And again, the big things here are when it finished recording. And this is much more important, I think, than the did finish playing of the AV audio player, because this is how we'll know, okay, the user's done recording, now we can actually save this. Well, actually, no, I lied. It already gets, oh no, it gets saved for you in this case, huh? Never mind. But we will need to know, what was I thinking? I can't remember, sorry. Another kind of a key thing here is, what would also, do you guys think, be an interruption? Oh, it's now, oh, well, it's a notification now, but still, that it still applies. So there are things like, it begins an interruption. Oh, and I'm not going to look at that because it says exactly what the interruption is.
Did a phone call?
Yeah, like a phone call, right? Like some system event that happens that will interrupt essentially the entire execution of your app. But it would also, handle, it would also interrupt the recording of your app. So there is, cause for needing to handle when that happens and kind of handling that accordingly. And I'm sure that if we look at AV audio player delegate, yeah. So there's the begin interruption and everything. And those are also deprecated. But, you could handle that to maybe say, when there's an interruption, it automatically pauses the playback of the audio, or pauses the recording of the audio, and then they'd have to resume it, or whatever you want, right? So we'll just call our recorders delegate equals self, and it's going to yell at us, and that's okay. And then we can also say recorder dot record. And then we can just nslog, or we'll just say unable to start recording. And we can now adopt the AV audio recorder delegate. So let's add the audio recorder did finish recording. And actually, now that I'm kind of thinking about it, really all we're going to need to do is update the buttons again and set the recorder to be nil. And we're going to need, so this is what I was thinking of. We're going to need to get access to that URL that the recorder just recorded to in order for the player to know about it, because now we're going to change this so that the player doesn't go to the song that we imported, but instead it's just going to directly play the recording. I think that'll make sense in just a second. So let's set the, let's change the update buttons method to also now say let record button title equal is recording. We'll say stop recording or record. And we'll say record button dot set title. Okay. Oh. Okay, so we're going to, sorry for kind of jumping around here. In the audio recorder did finish recording, we basically want to do the same thing where we set the recorder to nil and then we call update buttons. So we're going to say soft.recorder equals nil and update buttons. Now we are going to run into this problem where we need to get the recorder's URL, right? The URL to the audio file that was just recorded. And if we set it to nil, then obviously we don't really have access to that anymore. So what we're going to do is just make a variable to hold the value of this URL right before we set this to nil, so that when the player when you hit the play button, it will be able to know what that last recorded file, where it's at. So jumping back down to the bottom here, we'll just have a private var recording the URL. This is just going to be URL optional. So right before we basically deinitialize the recorder, we're going to say recording URL equals our recorder dot URL. Why can't we just use like the new recording URL function here?
Because it's a UUID and it generates every time in different.
Yeah, it'll just be a new URL every time, right? So that's kind of why we have to do this little bit of roundabout, having this variable here to make it work, but it's not that hard. Okay, so before I forget, because I'm sure I'd forget later, let's go into the plist and add a microphone usage description, because now we are accessing the microphone for real. Not really sure why the simulator does that, but if we didn't do this, then it would just crash on us. Order to record. That's kind of a bad. Let's do something like that. Try a little bit more like realistic. Okay, let's.
Spencer, real quick, can you go up to line maybe like 24, 25, where it says function? Okay, audio recorder did be finished recording. Okay, thank you. Yep, line 23 for me. Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, what we'll need to do is just finish up the record function by adding another defer statement to update the buttons title, because we are now in that function both updating both buttons titles, both buttons title. And at that point, we should have the recording done, although we won't be able to play it back. So let's go ahead and modify the play method. It's not hard at all, to not play our MP3 file, but to play the recorded file instead. So all we need to do is we'll just get rid of this whole line here. So let's just grab the URL by saying Gardlet URL equals our recording URL, else we'll just return. And then we'll just have to initialize the AV audio player now with just the, well, I just called it URL. But. That's all we have. So let's try it. Oh, I still have slow animations. There we go. This is a test. This is a test. There we go. Does anyone need me to go somewhere in the code? Okay, let me know when yours is working. You can both record and play back that recording. Okay. Yvette, do you need me to go somewhere in the code?
1 second.
Okay. Nick and Jarek, how are you guys doing?
Just figuring out. I don't know. It's not working.
Okay. If you want, we can look at it. Eric, how's it going for you?
Can I share my screen? I'm missing something because we went back and forth, and
I know. I apologize. I kind of did that fast.
maybe it's working. It's expected declaration here.
Oh, you've got an extra curly brace on line 52.
Oh, okay.
That's probably what's causing that. Just go ahead and build it.
Yeah, I'm doing it. It's going.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it works. Thank you.
Let's see, Nick. Do you need? Oh, did Nick leave? Oh no, he didn't.
I don't know. It's not working. I guess I can share.
Okay.
I feel like I have everything. It just doesn't play anything.
So on line 64, you don't want to use the recorder's URL. You want to use that recording URL variable that we made.
Oh.
Because the recorder is going to be nil at that point when it's stopped.
Okay. Okay. That'll work. Hello, hello. Yeah, it works. Awesome.
Okay.
Playing very quietly.
He's playing very quietly. I don't know. It does that for me too. Not really sure what goes on with that. I had to crank the volume up all the way on my speakers for me to even like really hear it at all.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Can we look at mine just real quick?
Absolutely.
Sorry, my mic wasn't even on. All right, so when I hit record, I'm not really getting.
Let's go to that record action. Wow, sorry.
Record action down here.
No, go up. Up. Right there. Down.
Okay, right here, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe action, yeah.
Okay, so if it's recording stop. Oh, it probably is recording. You're just not updating the UI.
Okay.
So just add that defer statement. You could actually just copy it from the function that's above that one. It's just defer update buttons. It's
okay, yeah.
line 37.
Right here.
Right above, like on line 66.
Okay.
So you defer, open and close curly braces. And then, yeah, exactly. Let's try that.
What it do, what it do. Nope.
You know, bro, that's what it do.
It's what it do.
Let's look at your play function now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So can you put a breakpoint on like line 45 and just hit the play button in your app again? And just like play through that.
Sure.
Not really sure why it's hitting that. That's weird. Maybe. Yeah, just play that. Maybe drop the breakpoint down to like line 52.
Okay.
And hit the play button again. Why does it do that? That's weird. Hold on. There's a setting you can change. I know to. Let's stop doing that. I always forget where it is though.
It's showing that the null, like your playing audio domain is null. So maybe the URL is like
Not correct.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's Unicorn or
Go to the audio player, or sorry, audio recorder to finish recording. It's probably at the top.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so that's why you're doing new recording URL. So that should just be recorder.url there.
Oh,
Thanks, Jason.
for sure.
And then just get rid of those parentheses.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. That should work. Let's try that now.
What it do? What it do? Oh, my breakpoint's still on there. What it do? What it do?
There we go. Sweet.
Yeah. What's up? What's up?
That's awesome. Okay. So is everyone's working now? Yes, right? Yes. Okay. Awesome. So that's the entire project. We finished a little bit early, which I'm actually kind of surprised about. I think it would be cool if you guys took just the extra 25 minutes that you have to implement that feature like we were talking about. That would give you kind of a good, it would be a good bridge between this lesson and your afternoon project if you're able to, pull those from the documents directory and kind of a list and be able to like tap on a cell and have it play the audio file, because that's really similar to what you'll be doing this afternoon. Does that sound cool? You guys cool to do that? If you want, we could do it together. I think it would be kind of cool for you to do it on your own just because it would be good practice for you, but I can also do it with you. Your choice.
So just add table view to the...
Yeah. Yeah, so you just have to add a table view. I'll write up some instructions, but basically you'd be adding a table view. You'd be accessing all the URLs in the file manager that are, CAFs, which would be everything basically. Throw them on a table view, a cell for each of them, and when you tap the cell, and you could even use the, you wouldn't even need to use a custom cell or anything. You could just use the delegate. You could just use the did select row at index path to have that start playing the audio, so you wouldn't have to like make a custom cell or anything. I think it would be really easy, and I think you can do it in 20 minutes. Does that sound okay? You guys cool with that?
How do we get list of all the files in that?
That's a fantastic question. Let me go to File Manager. So we'll get what I would do is use the this method right here. The URLs for search path directories. So we actually do something really similar here. Hold on. Where is that? Yeah, so here, let me do this. Just let me to load. I think this should work. Oh, okay. Oh, default. Yeah, okay. So I would do this one, sorry. I would do, so I just messed it all up. There we go. Okay, so I would grab the contents, the documents directory. Then you can use File Manager again to ask for the contents of that directory at the Documents directory. Oh. Wouldn't worry about that. You could skip hidden files if you want, doesn't really matter. So if we print that, that should work now. There we go. Okay. And that has just my one recording there, but then it would have all of the different recordings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I can Slack that to you. Yeah, there we go. So we've got multiple now. So then you would just get those URLs, throw them on a table view cell, and basically just run an AV audio player when you tap that cell. Is that cool? Okay. I'll write some instructions up for those right now.